This is the I'm Possible Project Show, where we interview real people who have achieved incredible feats in the face of overwhelming odds, showing that impossible is just a state of mind and that anything is possible. I'm your host, Joshua Rivedal. Today, in episode 12, Discerning the Truth, I talk to Victoria Alonso. Let's jump right in.
Victoria was born and raised in Southern California, and she currently resides in California with her husband of 24 years and one of her 3 children. After diagnosis with schizoaffective disorder, she earned her master's degree in psychology at Brandman University. She worked in the mental health for 4 years with children who suffered from various mental disorders until stress caused a relapse of psychotic symptoms and decided to retire from the field. Victoria currently writes about her journey of recovery from schizoaffective disorder and has an active blog where she reaches people around the world. And I've been on the blog, and the blog is really quite fantastic. Victoria, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Now, that was a very nice and tidy bio, 50, 60, 70 words, I'm not really sure, but it tells a little bit about you, but it definitely doesn't do you justice. We've gotten a chance to chat before, and I know your story from the book, so would you give us a little background on your life, where you've been, where you're going, what's up, the Victoria Alonso experience?
Well, I don't know where you want me to start, I had signs of mental illness in my teenage years when I ran away to New York City. And, I just would choose to do things that were very dangerous and sort of had a death wish of some kind, definitely. But it really hit when I was 36. So there were a lot of years in between there that I was very normal, not boring, but just raising children and doing my deal, and things were fine. So that's a little bit. What else? I don't know what else to add.
Don't worry about it. I will pull it out of you. Oh, maybe. We'll see. I got questions. I'm the question asking guy. That's what I do. 36, and you were showing signs of mental illness in your teens. What did that look like, if you remember, or if you journaled or whatever? What did the signs, and how did that manifest itself when you were a younger person?
Well, I did not believe in God, and I was very vocal about that. And I just had a death wish. I just wanted to die. And I jumped out of airplanes with a parachute, but just with the thought I would jump out on my birthday and just kind of be like, well, this could complete the cycle, birth, death, all on your birthday, And so I just kind of would make choices that were a little different than other people, I would say.
And so that death wish and this underlying stuff that was going on in your head, and that probably showed itself outward. You said that took you to New York on a certain level. What was going on in New York, and what were you doing? Because I'm from New York. Well, not from New York, but I lived in New York for the city for a good 12 years. So I'm a little curious on that level.
Wow.
But like what? Yeah.
New York was awesome. New York was fabulous. I wanted to do theater, but I ended up being on drugs and not doing any theater when I was there. I was just having too much fun. I panhandled on what is the famous New York shopping avenue, and I would panhandle for money, and that's how I would get my drugs, and that's how I'd get my little bit of food. And I lived in a squat and in Lower East Side Manhattan. And so just lived a very crazy life, met a lot of interesting people, other punkers. I was a punker, and I would dress the part and do the hair. And one of my friends had a mohawk, full-size mohawk. His name was Michael. And we would just live off the streets of New York, and we would get food sometimes from the different places where you'd get free food, and sometimes we would squat. Sometimes I would get a hotel room and live there for a week or two, just if I came into a little bit of money, and just lived at the squat the rest of the time. And then a friend of mine died in a fire, and I kind of took it personally because I was supposed to meet her the day before, and I thought maybe that somehow would have changed things. And I was young. I was 18. She was only 14. Her name was Carrie. And when she died, I just kind of fell apart, and my parents paid for my ticket home, and I went home, and I went into drug rehab, and that's when I found God, and that's when my life changed. And I also found my husband of 25 years now, and got married and had kids and settled down and just loved life. I loved homeschooling them. I loved being a part of their lives, being a part of the church, being a part of, just good things, and it turned me around. So that's a little bit more.
That is a lot of bit more. I can see some of those places in my head when you're back in New York City, and we didn't live there at the same time. I lived there from 2000-ish to about 2016 or 15 rather. I'm just seeing that, and I'm seeing panhandlers and folks living on the street, as there are quite a few in New York City, and I very well could have passed another Victoria Alonso. You never know somebody's story. Yeah. You never know what they're going through. You never know where they've been, they're going. And would you
And that was what was so neat.
Go ahead. I want to hear this. Go ahead.
That's what it was so neat, because everybody I met when I was in New York had a different story. And most of them were sad because someone had died or something had happened or, just some sort of stressor. And I just remember from person to person, still trying to help people. I've always been a helper. Even when I was a little girl, I always wanted to help. And I would try to help these people to do better. And I always had that, but at the same time, I was on drugs and I was addicted to drugs, and I'm not proud of that. But anyway, it's part of my story.
Part of your story. It's part of your story. You can't go back and change it, but you certainly can recalibrate going forward, and you can offer advice and life experience, and this is a cautionary tale, and this is what I gleaned, and so you're able to use it. So there's a bit of a bright side. Did you find, looking back, because you probably didn't have this, maybe you did, but you probably didn't have this thought process, but did you find that a lot of the folks when you were living on the street or squatting, were they living with some kind of undiagnosed, untreated, or mistreated mental illness?
Oh, definitely. I'd say 9 out of 10.
What kind of help is available for that, if any, at least back then? Because I know now there's
none.
There's none.
There was no help.
None.
I had one friend from Canada who was trying to get back to Canada because there was free mental health care there. And I remember him. His name is Dominic, and my youngest son's name is Dominic. Not named after him, but it's just kind of funny.
Yeah.
But he wanted to go back home to Canada to get treatment because he suffered from mental health issues. And there was just nothing that I was aware of at that time. That was in the late 80s, early 90s.
Wow. And so this period of your parents buy you this ticket home, and then you get home, New York to California, rehab, husband. How did you find your spirituality, your God, your purpose? How did you rebound? Because it's not. I know folks who live with and manage their addictions and have been through 12-step programs and things of that nature. But what were the things that sort of got you on this path of sort of, I hate to say cleaning your act up, but just kind of rebounding and getting away from the drugs and sort of making healthier choices? How did that process?
Well, in Narcotics Anonymous. Narcotics Anonymous taught me to believe in a power greater than myself. I chose the ocean, and then soon after I realized that something made that ocean, and that's how I came to believe in God.
Cool.
And then soon after I gave my life to Jesus Christ through Costa Mesa Calvary Chapel.
Okay.
And then after that, I practiced my faith, read my Bible, and then I became Catholic. So that's just my little tidbit of spirituality that has worked for me. But I also enjoy Buddhism and reading about Buddhists and the Dalai Lama sayings. And, I love all religions. I'm not opposed. There's a couple that kind of I have a hard time with, but for the most part, I believe all religions are good and have a basis for good. And even though I'm Catholic and I believe it is the way, it doesn't matter, what I think, because I'm just me and I'm living my life and doing my deal.
And the little bit I know about 12-step programs and Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, other kinds of Anonymous is like, I almost feel like you've been able to come to that conclusion or that thought process because one of the biggest things in those programs is to strip away ego. So how could you say what's right? Well, you know what's right for you, and it seems to me like it's working really well. I know that what works for you does not work for me, but I appreciate that it works for you. And so I appreciate that thought process that you just kind of threw out there because who knows? But we know what works for us, and that's the most important thing. And so really, really interesting that you went that whole journey. And then at what point between that, how many years was it between sort of the recovery? I mean, you're always in recovery as is sort of the NA and AA way. But when you sort of got sober, did the husband thing, the wife thing, the family thing, and then at what point did the schizoaffective come up? When was that diagnosed? How far into that?
Well, I became very religious when I was about 35 and met a priest who guided me into a very deep spiritual life. And soon after, I actually prayed to be able to suffer for God, and it was at Easter Vigil Mass in 2006 that I actually received what I believe was the gift of schizophrenia from God. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's how I believe it came about, and I'm sticking to my story.
Sure.
So,
well,
to be able to suffer for God is huge. So that was my prayer, and I'm able to do so now.
Suffer for God, suffering for or taking on burdens for humanity. Because I'll quantify this because I want to make sure we include everybody. But if you believe in the Christian side of things, God sent his son, and his son kind of took on the burdens of the world, and but those who follow his son, then part of their task, I think, is to take on pieces of burdens of others in the world and to leave this place better than when they found it, to shine a light, to show that there's good in the world. And I'm painting with broad strokes. And I also feel like, in a sense, that a lot of religions and a lot of faith-based, organized faith has a similar call to action. And so I think it's really incredible in your journey that you've taken something that many people see as a defect, and you said, no, this is a gift. I'm calling this a gift. Now, how do you see this as a gift? Because I have an idea about how my depression is a gift, and how unfortunately through the pain that I experienced, getting all the way to the point of being suicidal at 6 years ago at age 26, 27. I can look back and say that, in a sense, that was a gift. Now, I would never wish that pain upon anybody else, and I strive to make sure that nobody gets to that place, but I see it as a gift because I can reframe it that way in the aftermath, and I know what I'm doing with my work and my life, etc., but your frame of reference may be different, so I would love to hear about how you see your schizophrenia as a gift. How are you giving that gift and sharing that with the world?
Well, through my blog and through the books that I write, which I just am publishing a second one. And I'm really excited because I went with Covenant Books and am looking forward to the editing stage and getting it to print. Because it talks about the gift very much in there and what that all entails. There's still a lot of mystery surrounding many odd things that have happened to me. And some of it was schizophrenia and some of it was pre-schizophrenia. So it's, God has me at a place where I just kind of accept his will, and the suffering, to be able to suffer for God is the biggest gift, to be able to do that, because I believe that while we're here on earth is our chance to really make good what we're going to receive in heaven. So I'm earning lots of points.
I think so. I wish I could see the official tally, but I think you're earning a lot of points. In what way? In what ways do you suffer? Is it physically, emotionally, spiritually?
Emotion. I had a really hard day the other day, and I was trying to help my mom out, and it was severely hot, and I had an anxiety attack, and I had to curtail now the work that I do for her and try to set some boundaries, because she moves at the pace of a snail and my patience just isn't that good. I haven't got that down yet, and it was just too much. It was too much time helping her out. So, It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. It's part of the refinement process. I know the struggles of being impatient myself. That's something I struggle with as well. So I know that all too well. And interesting that we all have our good days and our bad days. We all have our good days and our bad days, and that's part of the journey, and that's part of what you're also able to give. I mean, just even being that vulnerable, even on this show and saying, I've got this, and you sound, whatever normal means, still I'm trying to figure that one out, and you sound well-adjusted and kind, and you have very well-connected thoughts and insights, but you still struggle. You are a human being.
I still struggle. Oh, yeah.
And
there's times during my day when I'm not struggling, like I just did a garden, and when I'm out in the garden, I'm good, very connected to God and very connected to the saints, and I have all my wonderful plants and my dogs out there, and I just spend time in the garden,
Sounds like a very, very strong and positive coping skill.
Yeah.
Sure. We all need that bag of tricks that gets us where we kind of get as close back to even or zero as possible so we can stay in the moment.
Yeah.
That's incredibly important, I think, in one's mental health. Not just mental illness, but mental health, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I so applaud you because this is what our show is about. It's talking about overcoming obstacles, but it's not like I overcame it and now everything's over with. We got our hands dirty a little bit. We heard about the struggles. We heard about the triumphs. We've heard about a lot of things, and you, just like many others, all of the folks on these interviews and on this show, turning lemons into lemonade. And you have certainly done that, and it's exciting and it's inspiring to hear. So I want to switch gears a little bit. I want to switch gears, and then we can get back to the work and you and your life, and we'll get to see how we can get in touch with you and stuff like that to follow your work, etc. But this is a little segment that I like to call the quick fire round. And this is just a fun little set of questions, no big deal. We're just going to have some fun. It's our Tonight Show moment, our David Letterman moment, our whatever you fill in the blank. So I'll play one of those guys, and you just play yourself. No right or wrong answers. This is just a great way for our listeners to get to know a different side of you. So, away we go. Victoria, what is your favorite word?
God.
God. Cool. That encompasses so much.
It does.
I like that. It does. It really does. And now, what is your least favorite word?
My least favorite word, devil.
You're so predictable. I was like, she's going to say devil. She's going to say devil. Devil. Even like devil's food cake?
No way. I love that.
All right. I guess it's an adjective at that point, not a noun. Or something like that. I don't know. Somebody's going to get grammar police on me at some point for that one. Okay. So, if somebody made a movie of your life, the Victoria Marie Alonso movie, who would play the lead role? Who would play you?
Angelina Jolie.
Yes, Angelina Jolie. I like that. That's a very exciting choice. That means that we have to go full big studio, which means actually now I get to have a minor role in this film. I'm not sure who I'm going to play yet. Maybe one of those friends from New York. But I'm gonna make a plug for that right now. Somebody cast me. Okay, here's another one.
Matthew McConaughey.
Ooh, Matthew McConaughey. We'll get him in there. We need star power. The more star power we have, the better.
Yes.
I'll let him know you said that, if I ever meet him, of course. So, who or what is your favorite animal?
My dogs.
Oh, what are their names?
Butter and Cinnamon.
Oh, man, that's cute. That's really cute. Next one will be like milk or something, like food items. Paprika. Cute. Butter and Cinnamon. Okay. If heaven exists, if it exists.
If what?
What would you like to... I said if heaven exists, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you as you enter or as you get kicked out? Ha, ha, ha.
I'd like him here to say that he's very pleased with my life as I enter.
I think we can bank on that. I think we can bank on that. I think you're doing great. Really, and I mean this. I'm just proud to be on this interview with you because it's cool to learn too. That's why I'm here too, not just to share stories, but also to learn. So that is the end of our quick fire round, and I should start calling this the quickish fire round because I make too many comments. But Victoria, what does the next maybe 6 months to a year look like for you? What does the future hold? Business, life, whatever.
Oh, my goodness.
Down in your world?
I have no idea. I wake up each day and I do not know what I'm doing. You know, I got my parents, I got my writing, I got my blog. I'm not sure. You know, I think there's going to be more writing, more editing, and that's going to take up a big part of my life. But I also know that I'm getting back into a walking routine where I walk 5 to 10 miles a day.
Wow.
With Leslie Sandstone, my mentor, my guide. So, so I plan to be walking a lot these next several months. And
cool.
Yeah, I enjoy that, meditating while I walk and praying and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. So a little mystery, and maybe a little flying by the seat of your pants. But I know there's that book in the works too, and that's pretty exciting. And if folks want to get in touch with you, if they want to learn more about you, your blog, your work, your book, or books, what's maybe the best way, or a couple of ways that they can get in touch if they want to learn more?
Well, I have a website. The website is https://mypersonalrecoveryfromschizophrenia.wordpress.com.
Okay, great.
Victoria Marie Alonso @yahoo.com.
Okay. All right. I really want to thank you for jumping on this interview and for sharing your words of wisdom with our listeners and with me.
You've been listening to the I'm Possible Project show with Joshua Rivedal and guest Victoria Alonso. I love sharing stories and how to turn impossible into I'm possible. If you want more inspirational stories, our second and third books are in pre-order right now. Changing Minds, Breaking Stigma, Achieving the Impossible, as well as Lemonade Stand. Both contain powerful stories of overcoming tremendous odds. When life gives you lemons, squeeze, add sugar, and pick up a copy of The I'm Possible Project. www.IamPossibleProject.com/pre-order. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're more than a community. You're part of the I'm Possible family. Until next time, sending you lots of love.